We're excited to have somebody on the show today that's building a business that's directly parallel to ours. We're excited for a different perspective on growing a team in this economy, in this climate. We're excited to have David Mancini, the mortgage specialist, the mortgage broker. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Montreal's Elite Unleashed. Like I said, we are here with David Mancini. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Little spoiler alert here, guys. This guy, obviously we work tons with him, and he was in the office today, and we were like, come on in, we're doing a podcast today. And he was like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah, really. He just threw me to the wolves, and knowing how I love my public speaking, he's like, okay, let's go. Come on. And I'm like, I froze.
I'm all about getting people to do what's uncomfortable. But man,
Exactly.
I'm really excited to get to know a little bit more about how you got started and how you decided, you know what, like can't work for the man. I want to be an entrepreneur. How did that start for you?
It was a complicated history to get here, to be honest. I was in the business from 2010, working at a financial institution.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at CIBC up until 2019.
Okay.
I was a financial advisor there and loved the mortgage aspect. So one day I have a client of mine that looks at me and he's like, have you ever thought about doing your own thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I never thought about going as a broker, being self-employed. I was used to, like, let's say most Canadians being the 9 to 5, have a salaried income, not knowing anything about being self-employed. And I ended up going home that night and thinking about it. And I was like, oh, let's see what could go on. Let's see how I could do it. I started looking more and more into it. And at the same time that happened, I was going through a little rough patch in my own personal life.
Okay.
And I ended up taking a step back from the bank because I went on sick leave actually.
Okay.
And at the same time that happened, my ex-father-in-law, unfortunately, had stage 4 lung cancer. And he saw me going, he was an entrepreneur and he started giving me a lot of advice as well on, you should do your own thing. You should go about it. He's like, you're good at what you do. You have a lot of knowledge. He's like, you shouldn't do your 9 to 5, be self-employed.
He was trying to pour all the knowledge into you.
All the knowledge into me while he was
while
not
he could.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great. And
but it's really interesting. Sorry to cut you off really quickly. Pressure creates diamonds, right?
Yeah.
You were in such a stressful point in your life.
Correct.
And that's when all of these doors were in front of you and
Correct.
you could choose one. That's a really interesting point to make. So a lot of people feel stressed and it pushes them to inaction. It makes them feel like, woe is me. But it sounds like it kind of motivated
agree.
you.
And then, I started taking everybody's advice. I started calling, I started speaking to my friends. I started speaking to my, unfortunately, my ex-father-in-law at the time. So we started speaking about a lot of things and started going more and more in my head. And I spoke to an ex-colleague of mine that worked at CIBC with me, that she was in the broker field. She had just joined Orbis. And she was explaining to me, like, the perks of being a broker and so on and so forth. But at that moment,
so those of us that have no idea potentially what even is an Orbis. What is that?
Orbis is a brokerage firm, it's a mortgage brokerage firm that works with all banks throughout Canada, let's say, or mostly Quebec, because we are based in Quebec. So it's a brokerage firm that does work with all the banks.
Cool.
Compared to working for one financial institution, which I was doing in the past.
So this gal you were talking to, or this guy you were talking to,
she calls me. So I spoke to her and I was asking her opinion about, the brokerage field and so on and so forth. And she was giving me her feedback. And she was telling me, she's like, David, she's like, it's the best thing that you'll ever do. She's like, you need to do it. And at that point in time, I was just like, no, I still feel like the 9 to 5. I didn't feel comfortable, because I was on sick leave as well. I didn't feel comfortable. And then from there on in, my stubborn mind that I still went to every single bank. So I did the turn of all the banks. I went for interviews at Scotia, RBC.
This was to stay
TD,
like a 9 to 5.
To stay a 9 to 5 mortgage specialist.
Okay.
So I stayed my 9 to 5 and I was doing all this. And then I ended up leaving. I said, you know what, let me take a little bit of a break here. Let me see what's going on. And I ended up going to Florida. While I was in Florida, my colleague, Christina, she had spoken to me. She's like, so what did you decide? And I'm like, when I come back from vacation, I'll meet with Teddy Curis, which is the owner of Orbis Mortgage Group, to see how it goes. Come back from vacation, I go to Orbis, and the minute I sat down with Teddy, within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, I was already sold on the brokerage firm.
Nice.
I was already sold to him as a person because he's a great leader, he's a great person, but also because it was a very family-oriented business. Cool. The way he made it seem and the way how I met everybody in the office, very family-oriented. And that's what really sold me to the brokerage.
I imagine that's a huge disconnect between what you were normally used to at a bank. Because when I think of banks, I always think of like cold, blue lit areas that are like,
yes,
make your calls, shut the hell up, all that kind of stuff. And
definitely.
I just always think of the camera work from Boiler Room, where everything's like super, super blue kind of thing. So obviously to come into a place that had that kind of culture must have been a good kind of culture shock.
It was a very positive culture shock. But also yes.
Sorry, but you were also coming off of sick leave.
Yes.
And working as a 9-to-5er, that kind of like being able to take sick leave.
I was going to say, you actually get it.
Yeah. So you jumped away from that. You jumped out of that. Was that like a burn the boats kind of thing? Saying like, this is hurting me more than it's helping me?
So I woke up one morning and it was June 11, 2019. I still remember the date. I woke up and at 10:15 in the morning, I woke up clear as day and I said to myself, I cannot continue to go back to the bank because it's going to get worse and worse. I was getting anxiety. The more I was thinking about going back to work, the more I was getting anxiety. Mm-hmm. And not to put anything bad on the bank because they did help me become who I am today. However, this is too much anxiety. I said, I'm not going to continue.
Yeah.
I couldn't continue. And being my own boss, I was thinking about it more and more, as much as it was stressful and as much as I was thinking of like, hey, listen, I'm going full 100% commission instead of having a base salary. I said, I'm going to take the leap of faith, and here I am today.
It's a huge leap of faith too. When we bring on ISAs, they're always like, yeah, it's tough because I'm only going to get, X amount of dollars for the appointments that I'm making, and I don't have a base salary. I'm like, well, you think that's going to get any better when you get your real estate license?
Yeah, that's not going to change.
It's exactly the same.
Exactly.
I'm amazed that you remember the date. Like it impacted you so much that you got June 11, 2019, clarity.
10:15 a.m. and I ended up taking a shower, going straight to the bank. I was there for 11:02 a.m. and I just handed in my keys and I said, sorry, I cannot continue this. And signed a document right there and then and said, that's it, I'm done.
Wow.
I remember it as if it was yesterday.
So it's a good thing you don't have to put any PSAs out there of like, hey, if you hire David Mancini, he will not give you 2 weeks notice.
Definitely not. When my mind is made up, my mind is made up.
That's cool, man.
So now you went from the bank to becoming a mortgage broker, and now you're doing something that it seems to be the big thing that's happening in our space too, in real estate, but also in the mortgage space. It's starting to build a team.
Correct.
So where did that pivot come? Like why?
So I have a coach at work. She's great, and she's always pushing us for more and pushing us for more. And I want to give my knowledge to people. So I have a lot of knowledge. I have 14 years experience in the domain, and I think it's super important for myself to share my knowledge. Knowledge is power, as we all know, right? And I think by sharing my knowledge and onboarding people with myself as well, I think it's just going to help them grow as well. So how I take it is the bank helped me grow and I want to give back. Now it's not, people working at a bank per se. However, I want to give the knowledge that I was given and I want to send it over and I want to give it to other people. So that's the reason why I'm building a team, also for better customer experience, for many other reasons as well. I think, customer experience is very important. In your business as well, I think customer service is something that has been lacking the past couple of years, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
When some things are so busy that a million offers on every single property and you got a million mortgage files on your table at any given point, it's tough to give that red carpet experience to absolutely everybody.
So that's that's what I'm creating is trying to have that experience where everybody, like clients, nothing falls between the cracks. Clients get the service they're supposed to get, the best rate on the market. So many other things that we're looking for to help with clients.
Was there like a difficulty that you had to overcome or something that hit you in the face that you were like, oof, okay, yeah, can't have that happen anymore. I got to start getting people under me to help me that are going to work with me, kind of thing.
When I had some deals fall between the cracks, I mean, that was my point that I've realized. I'm like, listen, I'm not calling back clients in time. I would wait 2-3 days to get back to them. And I'm like, okay, well, no, this is not normal. I've never been this type of person and I don't want to go down that road. So I think at that point in time is where I realized, I'm like, okay, well, I need someone to help me at least 1 day a week. So I started with an assistant 1 day a week. Then it ended up going to 2 days a week. And I saw the benefits from it. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe having someone on board, because I'm very meticulous with my work, extremely meticulous with my work. And I need to have full control. So I need to know what's going on at all times. So by having an assistant, I was just like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on. I'm missing out stuff. However, if you're organized with, your assistant or organized with your team, you're not going to be missing any information. I'll still be able to have control on my business.
Yeah.
And is there a metric, that like at a certain amount of volume that you were at, that you were like, okay, I got this many clients?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
So I would say where I hit my point where I needed someone was about a bit over $20 million of volume per year. That's where I realized that I needed some help. If I recall correctly, it's usually between every $20 to $25 million of sales, and this could be wrong, but it's just rough numbers, is where you need an assistant to really help you or have someone helping you to not always, first of all, work 12, 14-hour days, which we do a lot of in this business because it is the business that we are in. However, like if you want to try to have like also a normal lifestyle as well, you need to have someone by your side, and it's usually that 20, 25 million threshold.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was kind of the biggest hurdle that you overcame when it came to making that transition from 9-to-5 job into self-employment? What was the biggest hurdle that you feel like you overcame?
It was, I think, that fixed salary, I think, is just really what it's always having that fixed
Everyone's going to
income.
be thinking exacally that,
Yeah,
by the way. So how did you wrap your head around that? Was it just like keep your head down, keep your shit low, and
it's so when I putting something in your mind is very simple, is put your head down, hustle, keep on working every day. It's going to get better the first 6 months to 1 year. Any business you go into, any type of self-employed business you go into, the first 6 months to a year is where it's going to be rough. But if you put your head down, you hustle, you give the right information, you're always learning. That's what really what is going to make you different from everybody else, and how you're going to succeed in this business, in any business actually.
So you had mentioned you had your one mentor in Group Orbis right now.
Yes.
Do you have any other outside mentors aside from her, and how have they helped you grow?
Right now, honestly, it's my internal coach. She's great. There's also Teddy, that he's helping me as well.
I throw you words of wisdom every so often.
You throw words of wisdom.
Those are free.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of, my surroundings as well, as far as friends, family, you guys as well. I know, like it's true though, but I've actually taken a lot of advice from you guys. I come to John quite a bit as well, for advice, to be honest with you. So,
John's that guy.
Yeah.
He's definitely that guy.
I try to get advice from a lot of people that are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I like to see their thinking. I like to see how their mind works, to be honest with you. I stay a lot, like I take a lot of information from a lot of investment people, clients that have a lot of investments.
Yeah, good call.
I listen to their background, where have they come from, what do they do, what's different? Because the most important thing is, we have to do what's different. For me, I find, let's talk about myself, is what's different out there. How can I better myself on a daily basis? I think that's the most important thing out there for me versus,
So we talked a little bit about transition into self-employed, being
Yes.
being your own boss, et cetera, et cetera. What do you have tips wise? I know from a mortgage perspective, it's a real pain in the ass.
Documents.
So it's like, what if you were to talk to because a lot of the audience now is going to be either 9-to-5ers that want to
Yes.
transition into being self-employed. And one of the things, cards on the table, if you want to become self-employed, you want to start buying real estate, it's not that easy.
Definitely
It's
not
not
easy.
easy in Canada. It's much easier in the United States.
Yeah.
Get on down there and buy some stuff. But no, seriously, if they wanted to become self-employed and they wanted to start buying real estate or do mortgages, buy a house for them and their family or whatever, what's some kind of the top couple of tips you can give them to make sure that they've got the highest chance for the highest approval and the best case chance for an approval?
So obviously, if we're speaking about self-employed, it's a whole different avenue on its own.
Yeah.
So someone that's transitioning from salary to self-employed. So I was in that transition when it came time to, because I do own property. So I had to do that transition, and I didn't know what was out there on the market because I came from a bank, right? So from a bank, they have that one product you need to fit in the box.
Yeah.
However, going on the broker side, what I didn't know, and making that transition, I think this is very important for everybody out there, is there are different avenues like alternative lending. There are different avenues like private lending. Yes, it might be a bit more expensive. However, you are capable of purchasing a home within the 2-year time frame. Like, it's all dependent
What do
on
you mean
your
by 2-year time frame again?
So
Little frame of
to
reference.
explain to everybody, yes. So as self-employed, we need to have 2 years of average income, 2 full years of self-employed income,
Right.
for us to take the average to see how clients get approved for a mortgage. However,
Do they draw a line for, let's say, if you're going, is it just an average, or if you get somebody that's made 80,000 their first year, 100,000 their next year, do you extrapolate and say, well, next year they're probably going to make 120?
No, unfortunately, we don't do that.
Okay.
However, we'll take the 2-year average, and then we'll add like 15 or 20%
Growth?
gross to the actual income of the file.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So we could actually, in reality, that's how really you show your growth for the following year.
Okay.
And these are net calculations.
Net
This is
calculations.
After taxes.
After taxes and
That's how they
not
get
gross.
you.
Yeah.
Freaking
It's
T1s
unfortunately-
instead of
Yeah.
T4s.
T1s
Brutal.
instead of T4s, so it's going to be after.
A lot of business
Exactly.
owners like to write as much as they can off and just
Exactly.
like zero out. But then you can't afford to buy anything.
And that's the problem, right? So nobody is getting the right information. So, the more expenses you put, we all want to pay less taxes, but unfortunately, you're going to purchase for less. So
It's planning. I think a lot of people don't plan
don't.
far enough ahead. They're thinking, I don't want to have a bill at the end of the year. But what they're not thinking of is, I want to buy real estate in 3 years.
Correct.
So they're like, I'm sorry, man. You're going to have to pay Uncle Sam. You're going to have to eat shit for a couple of years. It is what it is. Eat shit for a couple of years. Buy what you want to buy. And then you can start zeroing your stuff out.
Correct.
You see these guys online like Grant Cardone and everything talking about, you declare no money. It's like, dude, it's all well and good for you to say that because you've got like 200, 500, almost $1 billion of real estate under your belt. They don't even look at your value, your income at that point.
Your income at that point, correct.
They're just like, you're a mogul at that point. But most of us who are running through the motions of trying to continue to amass to be at that level, it's they look at your income
Definitely.
at the end of the day. So
Well,
I think better
also-
planning.
It's also better planning, but the biggest thing is down payment. If you have that 20% down payment nowadays, and we have access to alternative lending, we have access to private lending, a lot of self-employed or just anybody in general could actually get pretty much approved for a mortgage as long as you have that 20% down payment. So that's where it's like, yes, you might not have the income, but you could have the down payment, which will definitely help you.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Absolutely.
I agree.
That's cool. So what have you learned from bringing on, we see them in the office,
Yes.
the two people you've brought onto your team so far. What have you learned from kind of coaching them and helping them grow in this field? What's been your couple of takeaways that you've had?
So my first takeaway, I think, is learning how to work with others. I was never
How
able
to play
work
well with others?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I can't. I'm very on the go a lot, so I'm very. Let's say I'm a very stressed and nervous person, but learning how to take it back a notch and actually explain to them hey, listen, this is how you do things instead of just blowing up right away. I think that's the thing that I've taken the most out of it all is learning how to have patience and giving the correct information and allowing someone to speak and giving them their time as well, because they're not everybody is, we all have different knowledge. So just because I know something, I can't automatically think that someone else knows it.
Right.
And that is my problem. I automatically think that someone knows it. So I think giving time and having patience is really what I've learned from this.
I have a funny anecdotal story to tag along to that. So when I got started, I had this problem where people would meet me and people would do business with me, and I would have a lot of confidence, but I didn't know shit. So the problem was my dad was working with me at the time. We're going back 10 years or whatever. And my dad was working with me and he'd be like, okay, so we're going to do this, that, and this. I'm like, no problem. Got it. Just a random example. And I didn't know what that was. And I probably didn't follow through on it. or whatever. Or it's like he just assumed that I would know
You assume that you know
what
exactly.
to do because I came across so confident.
Exactly.
So I think like giving the time was such an interesting thing that you pointed out, because it's had he taken a little bit more time, and had I had a little bit more time to be like, well, actually, Dad, do you want to just show me a little bit of that? You know what I mean?
I agree.
So
I think taking the time and explaining and sitting down and actually showing is something that a lot of us lack.
a lot of people
to
get
do.
nervous too.
Yeah.
It's like, who wants to tell their boss, their team lead, their mentor, like, I don't know how to do that.
But it's
Exactly. I
it's
agree.
building that culture of an open communication
Correct.
too. It's like, hey, it's fall on your face, fail. We're all going to
Definitely.
fail forward as fast as we can. That's how we're going to learn. That's how we're
Exactly.
going to grow.
We have to, in order to become better, you have to fail.
Yeah.
From what I've realized on my end, let's put it on my end. It's you have to fail. We're not all perfect in life, and we have to fail at certain things, and to better yourself. But also, what's key with them as well, like we meet every day together.
Nice.
Like
Daily huddles.
Actually, we're just daily working together. But also, what we would have implemented as well is waking up, going to the gym every morning together.
So cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Love that.
As a team, going
Very
to the
cool.
gym, getting your mindset, starting your day off with, going to the gym, your mindset, you're focused. Let's go. Let's see how we could do it today. And like while we're together at the gym, like we're having a conversation, like, okay, well, this is what needs to be done today. This is how could we get better? How could we do this? So I think being together, building together and doing a lot of stuff together, I think is super important.
That's so cool.
Yep.
I love that.
There's this, like, especially when you have this team mentality that you're building, that it has almost this familial kind of
Yes.
vibe to it, especially when it's smaller, when it's
Correct.
like more intimate.
Definitely.
That is, and it motivates people to want to do more too.
Correct.
Are you noticing that, like, that's getting people jazzed?
It's getting people jazzed. Like the more like we're together, it's like we're always bouncing ideas off of each other, and whether it's like together in the office or let's say we go out for a drink together, we'll go out for dinner together. Like we're always building that family, like that family feel that we're together. That's super important to me, the family feel, because I have it at Orbis. Like we have that at Orbis, and now if I could bring that within my inner circle, it just that much more positive for
It's
me.
so
It
cool,
makes-
man,
yeah.
because it's like the opposite of what normally happens. So normally what happens is you go through trauma and you replicate that trauma with future people that you meet.
Correct.
What you went through was trauma. You found the solution, and instead of replicating the trauma, you're replicating the solution
Correct.
within your team. That's so friggin' awesome, dude.
I think solution is there's never any problems in life. There's only solutions.
So actually, it's funny that you brought up trauma, because there's something happened to me in one of the coaching sessions that I had done with one of my one-on-one coaching clients for business stuff. He was talking about a story about when he was a kid and he had just come here from Mexico and something happened to him. And it was so cool because that shaped his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it and I was like, holy crap, I had something that happened to me. And I shared the story with him of something that happened to me that I know shaped my life. It changed me. It made me be able to do this, to build a business, to be strong enough to take a chance like that.
There you go.
You told a story that had it imprinted that date and time on you, and it was so impactful. But that's not the same story, though. Do you have something that from a younger time that, like, you said, put your nose down, do the work? Like, what is that story for you?
Well, where the hell did that come from? Yeah, because most people don't
Most
have
people
that.
can't do that.
To be honest, I mean, I started working at a young age at 13 years old, and I just been hustling from there. I mean,
Why'd you start working at 13?
Yeah, Jesus. That's
Yeah.
usually young.
You didn't have your mom and dad buying you PS5s?
mom and dad were still
Something
giving
that
me-
wasn't invented yet.
Getting time
What
machines?
do you mean? They
buying
didn't
PS5s
hop in a
the future?
DeLorean?
My parents were always giving us everything we wanted, but they're like, you know what? You need to become responsible, start working at a certain age, like
That's
at
a
a
cool
young
balance.
age. Started
Go talk
working
to
as
your
a
parents, man. I
dishwasher.
got to learn that for me.
Yeah, started
Yeah.
working as a dishwasher at an Italian reception hall, and I've been putting my head down.
Wait, are
since
you
then.
are you Italian?
Yes, I mean, my last name doesn't give it away, I think.
What? I don't know.
So no, but I mean, but that in 2019 actually really impacted me. It was a heavy year. It was a heavy year, and I said to myself, I don't want to go back to that. And how do I move forward? And how can I better myself? Like, I know what the bottom was in 2019, and I don't want to go back to it. I really don't want. And I put my head down every day, and every day I wake up happy to be working. To be honest with you, I love my job. I love what I do. It's not even a job anymore. It's more of a pastime. That's how much I love what I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think what a lot of people, I think from what I hear speaking to a lot of people, because I do speak to a lot of people, is nobody wakes up happy to be working anymore. Like nobody has the drive, nobody has the passion to be working. So what I could say is, I mean, if you have that passion, if anybody has that passion, like good for you. I'm happy.
Well, that's who we're talking to right now.
Yeah.
Essentially, our target audience is somebody that wants to find that passion and go out and get it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And it's not like, don't be scared to make the leap, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a different dynamic. However, it's a great dynamic. It's a beautiful dynamic. You learn so many things, and you learn so many things about yourself as well.
Yeah. But it's not always easy. Like especially when you first start. And we see this in real estate all the time.
Of course.
People come in thinking this is going to be easy. The grass is going to be greener. They're excited. Definitely. They've got that honeymoon phase for the first 2 weeks to a month, maybe 2 months. And then the reality sinks in like, oh my God, this is not selling sunset. This is
one of my favorite things because I ask every time I interview an agent or a broker is look, why did you get into real estate?
Selling sunset?
And no, God, no, geez. If they said that, I'd be like, oh my God, I've got another appointment. I'll see you later. No, I'm joking. Of course, I would still hear them out. I would just, taint them with a certain amount of judgment. No, but a lot of times they're like, well, I wanted to set my own schedule. It's like red flag.
Yeah.
Because what they don't realize is that you just signed out of an 8-hour day and you signed into a 12 to 14-hour day.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Until you get to a point where you can kind of autopilot it, but that takes a long time. It
takes
a very
quite a while.
24-hour day on call.
I mean, pretty much,
Well,
you don't set the boundaries.
The first year I started, I had no life, to be honest with you.
Of course.
Like, I started I was working night and day. I would start at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I would finish 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
It's happened where I've taken Zoom calls with clients at 11 p.m.
So we'll get into some fun stuff after about how that's affected your social life. But staying on the business track, I don't want to say my predictions or anything like that because when we're talking with our clients from a real estate perspective, they're hearing it from a real estate perspective.
Yeah, correct.
They're hearing it from, you want to sell me a house, you want to sell my house or whatever. Where do you think the market is going in Quebec coming into the middle part of 2024 and then the end of 24 and 25? When do you think, and I think everyone's main question is, when do I buy? Right? That's what everyone's going to be asking is, when should I buy? When's a good time to buy? Should I wait for the rates? Should I wait for this? What's your kind of overview thing?
So, past experience, what I've seen a lot of clients is, I'm going to wait. I want to time the market. And I'm like, okay, not a problem.
When they want to wait for what? They're waiting for rates to come down, I would imagine, or something, or what?
So in the past, because there's a lot of speculation out there, we hear, prices are going to drop or interest rates are going to do this or something's going to go on in the market. There's a bubble. I'm like, listen, we need to know one thing. Quebec, the market has always been very stable.
It's true.
Right, compared to the rest of Canada. Let's talk about Toronto, Vancouver. They have a lot of fluctuations. However, in Canada, in Quebec, my apologies, is what I find a lot is our market is stable. So clients are like, the prices of homes are too high. It's going to come down. So I'm just going to wait and I want to see what's going to go on. But it's never a bad time to purchase. It's never a good time to purchase. You know what I mean? It's like when you're ready.
Damn you, David. That's no information at all.
No, I'm just saying no. But seriously, I think it's always a good time to purchase real estate.
Yeah.
I've my clients, my investor clients are always saying brick and mortar is the way to go. And I strongly believe that. I wasn't in that mind frame. I was just in the mind frame of put money into RSPs. However, I'm starting to realize more and more brick and mortar is the way to go. Where do we foresee the market going in the next, let's say, 12 months?
Sure.
Well, let's talk about interest rates. Interest rates have
they announced the stability.
They've
last
announced
month
the stability
or this month or whatever.
So inflation, the inflation January 2024 was at 2.9.
Okay.
They forecasted anywhere between 3.3 to 3.4.
Okay. So
however, it came under about 0.5%, which is showing us that the market is being more stable and we're going in the right direction. So being on an economist phone call this week, the banks are looking at a 1 to 1.25 variable rate drop, Bank of Canada rate drop by the end of 2024.
Okay.
And also they're forecasting by 2025 another 1 to 1.25 rate drop.
Now let's pretend I had no idea what that meant in terms of what that's going to do to pricing. Let's say I wasn't a real estate professional and John was not a real estate professional. We were just people.
Yes.
What would you tell me? What's going to happen to prices if that happens?
So prices definitely go up. So what everybody needs to know out there is once rates drop, prices of homes go higher.
Right, because people can just afford more.
Correct.
Right?
And vice versa. So the reason why I would say for myself, personally speaking, why I love this market right now to purchase in is because even though the rates right now are about 1 to 1.5% higher than what the actual rates were pre-COVID, your gain of value once the rates come down is huge.
Yeah.
Is much bigger than what your interest rate is right now.
Yeah.
That's how I see it on my end.
Right.
So if I'm paying 1% higher,
Well, think about what the difference is, right? Let's think about the mortgage payment of $2,500 now. If those rates come down at 1.5%, let's say in the next 12 to 18 months,
correct.
What is that going to do to the value of the property that you bought for $500,000?
Well, your value of your property is definitely going to go higher.
It's going to go to like, say you're going to make $100,000, but what's the payment difference? You're talking about $500 a month. It's $6,000 a year.
Probably like $300 to $400 a month. That's what the difference is. So why wouldn't anybody not want to take the upside of the value of the home over an interest rate?
Right.
So the problem is that we're all focused on a rate. This is the issue.
I have a theory. It could be just cash flow.
Yeah.
People just don't have the damn cash flow right now because they're all in so much goddamn
There's
credit
a lot
card
of debt.
debt.
Just a lot of debt out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of debt. Like we do applications. I do applications on a daily basis, 4, 5, 6 applications a day. And I see a lot of debt. And
so the question that I have is, if you're seeing a lot of debt, are banks becoming a little more numb to it? What I mean by that is their acceptability rate for how much debt you're holding on a little bit different now, or is it changed over time? Like how much bendability on that total debt service ratio exists?
Well, banks are being a bit more careful nowadays,
Okay.
right? They've taken it back quite a bit since, let's say, 2023. They've really scaled back a lot on how much tolerance they're willing to take compared to for clients having a lot of debt.
Okay.
What I've been doing a lot of with clients these days is mostly having them like, hey, listen, let's consolidate your debt. Take the amount of debt that you have. Yep. Let's put it into one payment. You're going to better your credit score, but also you're going to pay half of what you're paying on a monthly basis so that we could go get that property. You know what I mean? It's all based, like right now, because of all the debt that's out there, we got to take certain steps before to actually get client approved.
Wow.
And are you finding people getting approved for those loans very easily if they've already got all this other debt?
So consolidation loans are easty to get. Easy to get. I mean, it's much easier.
If it's a consolidation loan, does that affect their credit, or that's what's the word?
It's actually going to better their credit.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because when you're holding too much credit, so what happens when you're holding too much credit? About over 30 to 50% of your balance of your limits, your credit starts taking a bit of a hit. So your credit starts going lower and lower. Yeah. So by consolidating everything, what happens at that point in time is you're consolidating all your debts. So there's no more balances there and you're into one loan. So a lot of the times your credit score just shoots up like 50, 70, 100 points. So it actually helps the client out more than anything else. Okay. And your payment on a monthly basis is actually lower.
Well, you're not paying a 27% interest rate on a credit card or something.
There you go. So you're paying maybe like, 9, 10, 12% interest rate on a loan. However, a client took his payment from $800 a month to $350. That $500, let's say that $500, just, rough numbers here, almost brings up your credit capacity $100,000. So it's huge amounts.
Right.
Huge amounts.
It's these strategies that you're talking about right here. Is that stuff that you were doing at the bank, or that stuff that you found out now that you're...
found out now as a broker.
Okay. And this is like the stuff that you're imparting now.
That's what so when I do this a lot with clients, I'm telling them like, I'm doing a lot of coaching, let's say on credit, which I've never done before because being at the bank, I didn't know how to coach. I didn't know all of this. So by being,
Sorry, it makes sense though, because I just thought about it now. It's like the bank wants you to pay the higher interest rate. They don't want you to get the lower loan to pay a lower interest rate. So why would they offer this to you?
Right.
Correct.
You want them to get the mortgage and you want them to get the most.
But not only do I want them to get the mortgage, but I also want them to not be indebted. Like, I don't want to deal a mortgage for a client where he has $100,000 of debt on, separate credit cards or separate lines of credits, and then he's going to get a home and he can't afford any of the above and he has to go bankrupt or consumer proposal.
Yeah, it'd be brutal.
Like I'm doing a lot of coaching on credit and saying like clients, okay, well, you need to do this. This is how you're going to help yourself. This is how you can be able to afford that home instead of $400,000, maybe at $500,000. So that's what I'm trying to do for clients as well.
And how much are the clients paying you for all of this like coaching that you're doing?
$0. $0.
That's one of the things about being a business owner that people don't
Yeah.
realize, all the work you do for free.
There's a lot of
so
work.
much. Oh my
And it's
God.
like, it's so important. Like, this is going to get you business down the road,
Yeah.
but maybe it won't. And you,
You
just
know,
did it all for free.
But not only that, there's like I'm helping clients with their taxes on a yearly basis, going back to the self-employed. We're like, okay, well, how much do you need to declare? And I'm telling them how to declare, what to do, what not to do. So I work with their accountants. Like,
Wow.
there's a lot of stuff in the back end that clients don't see that I do. There's, as far as tax breaks for investment properties, like there's a lot of stuff that I help clients out that, like, the client doesn't know what, like most clients don't know what I do out there. So it's all this back end work that I don't charge for, to your point.
Of course.
But it brings me joy every day to do this with clients. It's actually, like I said before, like it's not even work for me, it's a passion. So I enjoy doing this with clients. So
it's that feeling that you get when you close that hard file. It's like,
it's
something that you can't buy that feeling.
Definitely you can't buy that feeling. And it's, every file that we touch is different. And I mean, in your experience as well with your clients, I mean, every house you go to is different, right? They're not all the same homes. The clients are not all the same. So I think it keeps me on my toes, having these conversations with clients or having this knowledge to give to them.
You had mentioned earlier that you were doing like ridiculous hour weeks when you first started. How did you reconcile that with your personal life? I'm sure that our viewers are thinking, okay, I get into being self-employed. That's great, but I'll have no time for my friends and family. Short answer is no, you will not. But how did you reconcile it? I developed a terrible spending habit. So when I did see my friends, I would just like head right to the bar, grab like shots for everybody, pitchers for everybody, because it's like, if I am here, I'm going to make it really, really special.
It was great.
So
he still does it.
I told you it's a habit, right? It's a habit. So how did you reconcile that? How did you navigate that first year where you're really not able to hang out with anybody because your focus is on your business?
So to be honest with you, what happened right when the pandemic happened, right? So
you lucky bastard.
I was lucky on that end. Like everybody stayed home. Like I didn't have to go out. I didn't have to see my friends. But I also, no offense to my friends.
No, that's so funny too, because it's like people were still buying a crap ton of houses during the pandemic.
They still were.
And this guy did his first year in business where he didn't have to have that pain. That's awesome.
I didn't have to get out of the home. I didn't have to get out of my house. I was still at home, but COVID helped me. I won't lie. COVID helped me. Being at home and focusing on my work, helped me a lot. Right. To be honest, I think that's, if I have to say something, that's what really helped. Because I'm the type of person that if I could be out 24 hours a day, I'll be out drinking somewhere, having dinner somewhere, or being with friends or being with anybody.
Yeah.
However, I think what calmed me down a lot and made me realize like how important the business was and how focused I needed to be was COVID.
Yeah.
I think that's one positive aspect that happened to me.
It's still a skill though, that sociability, that personability, that ability to calm people in stressful situations. These are stressful situations.
They are stressful situations.
Big files, big debt. Correct. How many people shy away from their debt, hide from it, and are scared?
A lot of people hide.
So many.
Yes,
good Lord.
Everybody does. Everybody's like, oh, well, but the $20,000 of debt. I said, but still $20,000 of debt. Like, we need to rectify that. Like, I want to help you. I'm here to help you. How do we move forward together?
But some people would look at that too and say, like, $20,000 of debt, I'm done. Like, that's crippling. I can't get out of that.
Yep.
But you have solutions too.
We do have solutions. We have a lot of solutions. We have, being in the brokerage space, we have a lot of solutions. There's so many solutions to help clients. You know what I mean? Like, some clients that won't be able to get a loan will actually we have a possibility of helping them. If, there's a family member that wants to help them, or we have a private lender that wants to help them. Right. There's so many ways. Like everybody's scared of, private lending is 15% interest rate on a yearly basis. Well, I mean, your bank is charging you 15%. Why are you saying yes to the bank and not to the private lender?
Yeah, your credit card's charging you way more than that.
Exactly. So that's
when you're just throwing away your money at
you're
rent.
Throwing away.
So
you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying.
That's 100%.
Exactly. And with a private lender, you don't even have to stay there long term. Like you take it a short term, you build back your credit, you purchase a home, and you do what you need to do.
You refinance afterwards.
You refinance. Like there's so many options that we have. You know what I mean? So we work with between because we have about 49 different lenders that I work with.
Wow.
So it's not that one bank that we go to say, oh, this is what it is. No, we have 49 different lenders. You know, we're
I know
licensed.
like 5 of them.
Yeah, there you go. So we're licensed throughout Canada in general. So I'm able to work on files not only in Quebec, I'm also Ontario licensed. Now I'm getting my license in the Maritimes. So I'm able to work with my colleagues throughout Canada and work on files throughout Canada as well. So that's another aspect that we bring. You know, like if we go to a bank, like you go to a bank, for example, you want to purchase a property in, let's say, Vancouver.
Yeah.
Well, your representative at the bank is going to send you to someone in Vancouver.
Right.
However, for myself, I'm able to work on that file
Nice.
in Vancouver. So you'll never get rid of me in reality. That's what it is. Technically.
You'll never be rid of me.
You'll never get rid of me because I'm still doing your mortgage, whether it's for a property in Quebec, property in Ontario, in BC, wherever it is.
Nice.
So I follow you throughout the whole entire process.
So now somebody wants to work with you. How do they find you?
Social media.
Okay.
I mean,
David
active on
Google also,
active on social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Sorry,
It's at David Mancini.
So
or?
it's at Mancini.David for Instagram.
Nice.
And then once you find me there, you'll have David Mancini Mortgages as well for Facebook, excuse me. Sorry,
but you're Italian though, isn't it? Mancini.
It's Mancini. Well, here, so Logan is saying Mancini, so I'm just get on that. But no, yes. So that's the English way of saying it, but Mancini is the Italian way of saying it. And I also have Google Business, Google for Business,
Google
something
business,
along those lines.
yeah.
I have someone takes care of all the social media, so don't ask me too many questions on that. I'm zero in social media, but I have someone that takes care of that, and but I do have access to it on a daily basis, so everybody could find me there.
David, thanks so much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for everyone listening to another episode of Montreal's Elite Unleashed, podcast for hustlers looking to level up their lives. Thanks again, David. It was awesome chatting with you today.